Welcome back to the Top 6 show. The Premier League returns this weekend, and we actually get a Friday night game, a West London derby of Chelsea versus Fulham. We've got an action-packed show for you tonight, previewing all the top 6 matches, topped off with, of course, Tottenham hosting Manchester City. We're looking at Arsenal versus Everton. Will there be new manager bounce, or will Arsenal go 8 points clear? We'll be looking at United as they host Crystal Palace. Can they continue this great run of form that they are on at the moment? We're also going to be delving into Chelsea's transfer window and the erratic spending, according to a lot of the professional pundits out there. We've got a brilliant panel on tonight. We've got man like Carefree Lewis backing his Chelsea boys after they spent about 700 million in one season, which is crazy. We've got JJ here repping the only mid-table team on the show today in Liverpool. We've got Kaz that will be joining us soon. He's running a little bit late. We've got man like George. I don't know who's stepping in to fill Conte's shoes this week. Maybe it's him. Maybe it's Patrick. We don't know. And Jessica Black is here sitting there top of the league, maybe getting 8 points clear over the course of this weekend. And we'll be touching on everything on the show. But first and foremost, how is everybody doing? Everyone good? Everyone well?
Very well.
I'm good.
Yeah. We're not thinking about football. I'm fantastic. Great lad.
We're all good. All good.
I bet. Lots to delve into. We're going to jump into the first subject, which is Chelsea's transfer spending. That has been voted in by the viewers. We saw huge numbers spent, typified by the British transfer record of £106 million on Enzo Fernandez. And the media are saying it's sporadic, it's scattergun, it's too much, it's immoral. What are you saying, Jess? We're going to come to Carefree Lewis in a minute to defend his club, maybe. But what are you saying? Are Chelsea being immoral? Are they ruining football with their spending?
Are they ruining football? No. Like, teams have always come out of nowhere with new... you have to just look at, like, football in general. Like, I just think the prices are going up because the Premier League is better than ever. It's more exciting than ever. Everybody wants to play there. And so everything is going up. Yesterday's price is no longer today's price. And so it just is what it is. Like, I don't see the they're ruining football thing. They're clearly trying to reconstruct an entire squad in a very small amount of time, and that takes a lot of money. And Chelsea are not going to just buy any Joe Blows. They're going to try to buy the best possible players that they can bring in. And so I think people are maybe overreacting a little bit in terms of, are Chelsea doing something wrong? No, they're not. Like, as long as they're not bending the rules, they found a loophole in terms of, being able to spread payments out and, giving players long contracts, blah, blah, blah. Like, any smart team looks for loopholes where they can get a little bit of an advantage. It's not cheating. It's just life, Good business people do that. So I just think people have to just get real. Like, these teams, like at the top of the table, have lots of money and they're going to continue to spend. And as long as the Premier League is the greatest league and everybody wants to come there, the price is just going to continue to go up. The fees are going to go up and, sink or swim. Either your club keeps up or you get left behind. I don't see really the issue with what Chelsea are doing. I think a lot of people want Chelsea. I would think a lot of people would want what Chelsea are getting right now, to be honest. I just think people are just jealous. Like, that's what I think, to be honest.
Just when you say people, like, you have to keep up or, like, move on, like, it's impossible for teams to keep up. And that's where the problem comes. Is like, mainly not for Premier League teams. Just, I feel like Premier League teams, there's a few Premier League teams that can keep up. But when you look European football-wise, Chelsea spent more than the whole of Europe. That is an issue. I don't feel like a team should be able to spend more than everyone else in the whole of Europe. That's 100%.
So then what we start to talk about is then you start to talk about caps, and then you start then that's where closed leagues come in, and then we start building into American models, and that's not what people want.
Again, that's not, but again, that's, as you said, they're just using a loophole. I don't think it's an issue directly with Chelsea. I think it's more of an issue that the UK gets a lot more freedom that other clubs don't get. So then we can go out there and just poach players from everyone else, pay these high fees. Chelsea are taking advantage of it. But then it does take away a bit from, everyone wants football to be a fair game. We all know that some teams are going to have more money than others. Some are going to spend more than others. But when Chelsea are spending as much as they are, it's going to get to a point, just like with Man City, where it's going to be impossible to keep up. And they're going to overtake teams, and teams aren't going to be happy because they're
Let me
investing a lot of money that no one else can invest, and they're
okay,
using
so
funds which no one else will have the advantage to invest like that.
let me
Let me
just
just
say,
say last thing. The
okay,
only
okay.
problem that I think with their spending is if they'd done it across 2-3 seasons, 600 million, no one would bat an eye. It wouldn't be surprising. But like you said, they've done it in such a short amount of time. It's 2 windows. They've spent more than pretty much the Premier League's done. Like that's a Premier League, a whole Premier League window in January, and summer's like 600 million. They've done that in 2 windows just themselves to the club. So it is a bit like I think that there's then some things need to change, but you can't blame Chelsea for it happening.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is like everybody really down the football pyramid kind of they do benefit from clubs like Chelsea and Man City spending this money. They do, because TV rights, all that kind of stuff goes up because people want to see the best players in the world playing in this league, and it just makes the Premier League more attractive. So, like when we were talking about the Super League situation, people didn't want it, right? But the reality is like if you only want the big teams to do things against the big teams and spend money in their own box, then people don't get the benefits of having these big teams in the league. So I think Premier League wise, everybody benefits from the best players in the world playing in this league, and Chelsea and Man United and Man City and Tottenham and Arsenal spending money because it all trickles down. But the other leagues, I'm not even worried about them. And I don't know why you're worried about them either, because as a Tottenham fan, you're in Champions League. I would want those teams to be as weak as possible so I can win. So I don't know why, like, I don't care about that.
Like,
I don't care.
You know what, George?
Because there's nothing going to change it. Nothing's going to change it.
The only reason La Liga and that are moaning is, I've been saying this for about 10 years. The Premier League is the best league in the world. Forget what you think technically is better. Oh, the football there is better. The fans sound better there. The fact that the majority of the world outside of England wants to watch the Premier League over other nations' leagues is something we should celebrate. The likes of Chelsea, the likes of Man United, the likes of Liverpool, Arsenal, the big boys, and I don't mean this rudely to the smaller clubs in England, but the top 6 are the reason over the past few decades we've become so big. You then get new owners that come in that clear your debt, and they're able to spend like this, Chelsea. If Spurs got a new owner tomorrow, if the Qataris took over Spurs tomorrow, the whole club, they bought the whole of you, cleared all your stadium debt, and invested money into your club, got you brand new sponsors, and knew that over the next 5 to 10 years, your revenues would double because of their connections in the world, I don't think you personally would have any issue with over two seasons, your club spending 800, 900 million, £1 billion on
and that's
players.
what I said to you, though. My problem isn't to do with Chelsea. I think if we had similar rules in the Premier League, like we did in La Liga, Bundesliga do, where they have caps and you have to, it literally affects how much money your club makes is how much you can spend on wages, like other sports do. Then I feel like, yeah, then it's fine.
That's coming in though. But that's coming in. The new FFP rules are going to be based on you can only spend up to 75% of your turnover on players.
That's my point. So that makes sense. And that's to prevent teams like Chelsea doing what they want. But that's my point, is the problem isn't with Chelsea. The problem is that the FA have taken so long, and financial fair play, to put this in place in England, because we've taken advantage of it for so long. And now that it's going to come in place, you'll see Chelsea not been able to do it. And
I don't even think you guys have. The problem is Chelsea have done it such a
So, Lewis, your club makes one of the least amount from like stadium income and these types of things. So you wouldn't have the advantage that some of the other clubs do to spend that amount. So then that's my point, is that you're not bringing in that much money, but the fact you can spend so much is where it becomes an issue.
Yeah, but that's also partly because we were left debt-free by Roman. That's not really our fault. Roman put us in that sort of situation.
Yeah, I don't know. For me, like I'm looking at it and it's like,
Kaz,
cool.
You're on mute, by the way.
Yeah, cool. I'm looking at it and you guys are saying, you know, like Chelsea can't, obviously their stadium can't bring in as much kind of revenue as other kind of teams because of the stadium, right? Then what about those teams that can bring in those revenues? There's going to be a disparity in that then as well, because a Fulham doesn't bring in as much as a Brentford or vice versa as they do. So they won't be able to necessarily compete because they won't be able to go and spend as much as they're turning over. I don't think that's a model that necessarily works. I think there will always be a disparity in terms of who can spend more and who doesn't, whether it's the owners have a lot of money and they can spend within a certain, or they use a loophole, or whether they're bringing in more revenue. Do you know what I mean? Because there is going to be a disparity. It's just the way it works when you've got money.
JJ, instead of them being able to invest all this money in players, they would have to invest in the club, in a new stadium, so they can bring more money in. They would have to invest in the infrastructure of the club in order to bring more money in, so they can spend more on players. It makes more sense. That's more of a it's more of like an order of how it should work. That's how you're supposed to. You invest in the club and you get more back. They're not investing in the club. They're just putting money on players, spending as much as they can on players because, as you said,
is that not investment in the club though? Is that not investment in the club?
I don't get with this FFP stuff is that it's not Chelsea's fault that they found loopholes in this situation and they just took advantage of it. If anything, we should just be blaming UEFA, FA, and the people that didn't look into that could happen. FFP is a joke, anyways, man. There's no point hating on Chelsea, man. They done what they done, man.
Why were we the only club that figured out to sign everyone on 8-year contracts? And that was the one owner who everyone said was clueless and didn't know what he was doing coming into the role.
He came in and changed it. The question I've got for you, Lewis, do you feel like, how good do you think the spending has been? So in terms of the quality of players, how excited are you about the next stage of Chelsea's sort of rebirth under Todd Boehly and Graham Potter?
Oh, I am so excited. So excited. To the point where I don't even care what really happens in this season, because we are going again in the summer as well, by the way, and we're probably going to spend the same amount, maybe more, maybe less, I don't know, but somewhere around that amount. And you have heard me say this all season, whether it's on my streams, whether it's been on this channel or other channels. I've said that this squad has been overdue a rebuild for years. I thought it'd be a 2-year process, a 3-year process. We've done 2 to 3 windows worth of work in one. The players that we've already signed were already hitting the ground running. Badiashile has come in, transformed our defense. We've had 2 clean sheets on the bounce. Mudryk, Felix moonwalked into our lineup and have instantly become our 2 best attackers. Enzo Fernandez, like, that is the sort of midfield profile that we have been screaming out for ages. And we haven't even signed the midfielder since 2019. And there's more to come in. There's going to be outgoings as well. So we're not just going to be hoarding players and keeping deadwood. They're going to be gone in the summer too. I think by next season, Chelsea are going to have a very serious squad. I don't care about this season, wherever we finish, whatever. I still just want my 11 points and then I'm signing out for the rest of the season. And then it's just all based on progress. But the way we're moving now, I haven't felt this excited for Chelsea in years, because we actually have technical directors. We're actually scouting players. We're not just getting flavor of the month type signings without ignoring what the manager wants. The manager now has involvement in it too. We look like we're being run really well. And even when it comes to negotiations, we went into a situation with Rui Costa where he was just flat out refusing to sell Enzo Fernandez. And I didn't even think we'd get the deal across the line. We managed to do it with a 6-stage installment plan, and the first installment doesn't even go to them, and we're paying them 14 million a year, basically. Every single thing that I'm seeing from Chelsea is looking in a positive direction. Enzo Fernandez is apparently making less than Jorginho's making, was originally making at Chelsea. It's ridiculous, the moves that they're making. So yeah, to Todd Boehly, to the board, any doubt is just been thrown straight out the window. And yeah, I am very excited for the next stage under Graham Potter. And
can't wait for you to fail, man. I'm gonna be
You'll be waiting for a long time, my friends. You'll be waiting.
What's funny about this though is, like, even though I'll say, like, I don't, think that there's anything wrong with what Chelsea's doing, the one thing that I don't really understand is, like, I mean, you're saying that you're being ran perfectly and you ran good and all this kind of stuff. I don't really understand, like, all the praise for just spending a lot of money. You know what I mean? Like, going to Benfica and giving them 120 million for a player that they bought for 10 million isn't really, like, this great business. Like, you're just spending money. And, like, from my perspective, I think there is a little ways to go to see whether or not this stuff works out and all that kind of stuff. So I get it, but, like, you're just spending a shit ton of money on players that aren't really worth that amount. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's not hard to really go up to somebody and say, this is a player that's probably worth like 40 million. Let me, like, triple that.
I think for me, it's the fact that they did so much in the space of a month. The instant impacts that I've seen from all of those players, and the fact that they said that they were going to do this, we didn't believe them. and then they overstated everybody's expectations. So that's why.
When you say instant impact, Lewis, hasn't Felix just played 2 games?
He's just played 60 minutes, but you've seen how crap our attack's been this season. Sorry, like he's come in and he's instantly become our best attacker without barely any tactical understanding.
Well, that's
barely
my point.
even any
Lewis,
press
that, like,
conference or
your
anything
level
like
was here for these players to come in and be the best is because your level was so low. It still doesn't take you.
Oh
to
yeah,
the level
we're
that you
starving.
need to be.
We're starving, 100%. Malnourished, but hey, it's good to see some quality attackers for the first time in ages.
I hear that. I hear that. I hear that.
There's a super chat here that says, imagine buying a restaurant and getting criticized for investing in it and hiring the best staff only in football, is what Alex says here. People are scared to criticize Chelsea. These men ruined football 20 years ago and they are doing it again. The worst part is when they hoard players. My question to you, Enigma, if they ruined football 20 years ago, why is it thriving? Like, I would say this is like a prime example. Man United dropped off in that time period, there's no doubt. But Spurs have had their best period ever in the Premier League era since Chelsea ruined football. As an example, Liverpool won their first Premier League ever after Chelsea ruined football. So I don't think Chelsea and Liverpool fans, City would definitely not agree that football was ruined. I'd love to know what you mean by that, Enigma. Thank you. The Premier League is great because of a clash of ideologies. Chelsea spending, Brighton cheap talent, Brentford stat-based recruitment. Well, it's the best because the Premier League is the best because for one reason or another, it became over a 30-year period. We know this is a fact. This isn't a subjective opinion. The amount of people that watch it tell you it's the best. It's enthralling. It's nail-biting. It's heart-wrenching at times. And we've all experienced that, all our clubs over the last 30 years, and it's led to this. You know, we can all have an opinion on what TV show is the best. But if one gets 8 million viewers a week and the other gets 40 million viewers a week, your opinion doesn't mean niche. We know which one the general people prefer. These players have a guaranteed paycheck for the next decade, essentially. Better hope they are hungry to win and not after money, is what's been said here. That is a fair point, to be fair. Mm-hmm. Why are football fans accountants? Stop pocket watching, is what DJ's got to say. Our man says to the Spurs fan, that's to you, George. He says, hold that, mate. You're mad. We've got the right American owners. Super Todd Boehly is here to stay. Mate, Enzo is what Armin said. Are you jealous, George? Is that what it is? Are you jealous?
Oh, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't slightly jealous. I'd love for Tottenham to have owners that spend money. Our owners haggled, and we spent. We didn't even. It wasn't the Poro wasn't even a deal. It was a loan. So we haggled over 7 million spent in the last transfer window. So yes, I am a bit jealous, but it is what it is.
I hear you. This here says people are jealous of Chelsea spending. As an Arsenal fan, we should have gotten Kesse instead of J5, and we'll definitely move on to Arsenal a little bit later in the show. Thank you to Plaza Fam 12. Some of the names always confuse me. Would George say this is an issue if it was Spurs? He's jealous. I think we've already confirmed that. Nikhil here says everyone's transfer strategy is different. As an Arsenal fan, I don't see anything wrong with Chelsea's approach. UEFA are the biggest hypocrites when it comes to implementing FFP, is what Nikhil says. Scott Wilson.
Can I add something to that real quick? I was going to say, like, I've always said, like, there's different ways to skin a cat. Like, Chelsea's way is throwing money at it and, like, spending a lot of money all the time. That's what they've always done. That doesn't necessarily mean anybody else's approach is bad. Do you know what I mean? And so, like, yeah, I think that's their way, but there's other ways to win the league as well. And so we'll see whose way is better. I think the next 5 years is going to be so revealing because there's a lot of teams doing it differently. And we'll see which way is better.
Well, yeah, the one with the most trophies at the end of it essentially proves who was best. The only reason Chelsea are spending big is because they're 10th. Please give context to the reason for spending. I think that's a fair point. I think it's a fair point there, Scott Wilson. This is from Damien that says the league should introduce a luxury tax. Spending over a certain limit is taxed, and the tax revenue is redistributed amongst the clubs for not violating tax. Do you know why I disagree with that? I'm going to be honest with you. That seems too communist for me. I'm a pro-capitalist. There's one thing about American sport that I find weird, because I find like American sports system is the opposite of what America is. Like, if you're well run and you win things, I don't see why you should be penalized for it if you then generate more money and income off the back of your success. That for me is a weird concept. If Liverpool suddenly get new investors and new owners, they invest well and they win the majority of the trophies for a decade, and therefore their revenue becomes the most, they shouldn't then be penalized with a cap being placed on it for being taxed, and then their money being given to less successful, less well-run clubs. Like I do believe that meritocracy should ring through. And the reason that Man United had a financial monopoly is because we were the biggest and the best team in the country. That's why. That's the only reason. If we had never...
Doesn't that sort of happen though, Terry, with like the money going back into the EFL clubs? Like with the
it does a little bit, but that's from the TV revenue money. That isn't, for instance, if Man United suddenly Man United were debt free, but we had to give but there was a cap put in place, meaning if we spend any more than 100 million, all that loads of money is given to the other Premier League clubs. It almost becomes, there isn't an incentive to be successful. And again, I don't watch American sports. I never really understand the system why the worst team gets the best picks in the draft. I think if you're the worst team, you should be punished for being the worst team and keep struggling until you become a better team. Like it's on you to improve yourself. Maybe I'm wrong. It's easy, but you ended up with J5 and Trossard. Salty is what
that's good transfer, to be fair.
Yeah, I mean, we are going to move on to Arsenal. I do think Arsenal's window is good. There we go. Hide the money. Y'all. There's broke people around. CSD Money Gang is what Andrew says here. If you think Spurs are going to win the Champions League with the South African government sponsoring, lol, is what Grant has got to say here. Fair enough. Edu can learn how to close deals from Todd Boehly, is what Don says here. Everyone says Chelsea are ruining football, brah. Who else has achieved what they've achieved in the past 20 years? It's a very, very, very good point. It's a good point there, Lewis. It's a good point.
You ain't wrong.
Benfica did get Enzo for 10 million. They just paid 10 million up front and 30 million again after Benfica sold him. So all in all, Enzo cost 40 million to Benfica. I get your point there, Sheriff. On paper, City and Arsenal squads are still better than Chelsea's. Terry, if convince me otherwise, I'll donate £1,000 to the Terrace. I'm going to save your super chat and I'm going to prove you wrong for £1,000. I'm going to find a way of proving you wrong. But worth more. See, that's an interesting one, but we'll come back to that. I don't know if I can prove you wrong on that, but I'll see later. I can't do it off the top of my head, though, because I hadn't thought about it. What are the expectations to rate this strategy a success? Very curious, because if Arsenal did this, I would expect trophies very quickly. Well, let's move on to the game tomorrow night, and then we'll kind of come back to this for Chelsea. But you play Fulham, Lewis. You must be supremely confident of getting a result now that you have a full squad.
Not really. We got so many midfield injuries, and apparently Enzo might not even be able to play because of work permit issues. So I don't know. Like if Enzo's out, Ruben can't play a full 90. Kante's out. Kovacic is out. Zakari is out. We're playing a midfield of Lewis Hall, Gallagher, Chukwuemeka, or God forbid Mason Mount. Like it's just going to be a mess. We'll look good going forward, maybe. I think defensively we could still be solid because we've looked very good defensively the last two games, but I don't think it's as cut and dry as a win or loss. But the thing is, I don't care no more because we spent enough that I'm very, very confident for next season. I just want my 11 points. But please go and win. If Fulham do the double over my football club, I will be so embarrassed. But yeah, I'm not too confident. I won't lie to you.
You need to spend an extra 400 million just to beat Fulham, yeah?
Hey, if they want to spend another 400 million, be my guest. I won't be complaining.
How does everyone else see this game going Friday night? What are you saying, JJ? Is Chelsea going to bounce back with a win, or do you think there could be sort of the bubble burst?
I think they win. I think the fans will be up for it because of the signing of Enzo and how the transfer window's gone. I think they're going to be a massive part in that game. They're going to play a massive part in that game. I think that the team and the players will do as well. I know we're not talking about Liverpool, but that's one of the reasons why a lot of Liverpool fans wanted a signing, was to kind of reinvigorate the whole squad and get the squad excited about something new. You saw the effect that had on Liverpool when Diaz came in last January. So I think they win this game. They haven't obviously got an Arsenal or a City next. So for me, I think it's a win. To be fair, I think it's a win.
Everyone else, what we going with? What we predicting here? What we saying?
Draw.
It's embarrassing that we even need to have this conversation. This is a big derby game for Chelsea, though. I wouldn't be so confident.
Every game is a big game. We still need our 11 points.
But they're above you as well.
He's been a demon this year, especially in those London derbies. So I wouldn't be so confident. I think they might get a draw. I see him getting a goal. He's going to bully your defenders. And I wouldn't be so confident about this new Badia Sheila and all these new signings you were talking about just 20 minutes ago, saying about how the team's looking all good. Everything's nice. The new attack. We'll see if this new attack can hold up against Fulham. And,
I mean, basically what they're doing now is like, we're not doing well and we're not confident we're going to do anything. So focus on all the new signings and just throw this season away. No, we're still looking at this season. We're still going to banter you if you lose this game. Like, just know. And it's still going to hurt you a little bit. I know it will. I know what you guys are doing. I see the strategy. But they should beat Fulham. Like, Fulham are decent. But Chelsea, with all their signings and all their strength and their crowd behind them in their stadium, should be able to beat Fulham. Like, what is this? You know, like, come on. I don't know why you
higher than us.
I'm not going to lie. I'm predicting Chelsea, for me, I think they've got an outside chance of getting fourth this year.
You think?
I said that as well. I claimed that last week. I said there's no way, that this team spends that much and don't even get remotely close to top four. I think fifth is okay. I think fifth for Graham Potter. I think, you know what, cool. 11 points. Is it 11 points? Something like that to catch up is a lot of points in this time period. But I look at Chelsea's fixtures and I look at that squad now, and I'm thinking there is no way you lot can. I wonder what excuse you're gonna have next.
So
that's what I'm waiting for.
If Chelsea make top four, then who's falling out?
Newcastle.
So my view is this: Spurs ain't
wait.
getting it.
Spurs,
you see how the two United fans went Newcastle quick?
No, but it's not.
I know you closer to the line.
I have the reason.
Can I finish talking?
No.
No, not you, Kaz. You asked me a question. So Man United are making top four. Man United are coming third this year, in my opinion. I think Newcastle will finish ahead of Tottenham, and I think, irrespective of Chelsea getting top four, Chelsea will catch Tottenham as well. Chelsea will catch Tottenham this season. Yeah. Spurs are not playing good football. The manager isn't committed to the club. Spurs have real bad problems. They're pretending they don't.
Yeah.
Because they're looking at the season as an entirety and not the trajectory that they're going in. They're ignoring the trajectory. They're ignoring that they're running out of ideas on the pitch. And I think that the signings, like JJ said, the signings at Chelsea are going to spark them into life. And the Fulham game that they lost recently, look, João Felix was overexcited and got sent off. You all know the same as me when watching that game. Chelsea were playing well and they were looking better just with Felix. You add these players back, and the players returning, Chilwell and Reece James are very close to returning to this team as well. You add that in, they're going to start winning games, and a lot of games as well. They'll probably get fifth, Chelsea, but I'm going to throw if I'm a betting man, I'm going to throw a little outside bet on Chelsea getting that fourth Champions League spot and pulling off a miraculous 10-point comeback.
I know, George.
Terry.
You know what you do? Yeah, I've clocked you. George, I've clocked you.
Terry,
George, I've clocked you. You know what you do? You know when I start laughing is because when I start laughing in a situation where I feel awkward and stuff, because that's my coping mechanism, right? You start laughing when the truth hurts. That's where it is. You know it's true. I've seen you do it loads of times.
Yeah,
you're trying to think of response. Look, he's doing it now. He's doing it now.
Terry, you said that your old man's a Tottenham fan. Why do you hate Tottenham so much? Because some of the rubbish that comes out of your mouth when you talk about us,
but you say
it's ludicrous.
You say it's rubbish. This is the same guy that guaranteed you were going to win a trophy before Manchester United. We will beat Newcastle in that final and prove that wrong.
I want to see this clip because I generally don't remember this.
Hang on a minute. Let me answer. You were the same guy that sat there and said, and you and your fan base were sitting there saying, well, if Arsenal were in a title race, we're in a title race. I told you, hang on a minute. I told you on a stream that Arsenal would finish 10 points plus clear of you. I got laughed at. So I don't hate on Tottenham. You're just not very good right now.
You didn't justify anything I said there, Terry, though. You just deflected and said, apparently, no, I never said anything about title race. So let's get that clear. Fan base may have. They may have mentioned it, but I can't obviously speak to our whole fan base. But the fact that you tried to rub Tottenham out of this top four race, we're only 3 points behind you, Terry. You guys aren't well ahead of us. Your amazing season and Tottenham's horrible season only brings us 3 points apart. And Tottenham have improved. Tottenham has improved in January. We've signed one of our most important positions, and we significantly improved that. The right wing back spot. So if you think that Tottenham's football won't get better with the signing of Pedro Porro, with the signing of Danjuma, and options come on for the out of form Son, then you must be sorely mistaken. Chelsea have more problems than just players. Their manager has not found the right formation or tactics that even works for them this whole
Because
season.
we had the least cohesive squad in the top 10.
He doesn't even know what players to use in what position. He doesn't know if he wants a back 5, back 4, back 3. He doesn't know. So Chelsea having a better chance of top 4 than Tottenham is ludicrous.
You're stretching though. You're stretching though, Jules. You asked Terry, like what does he have against Tottenham, this, that, and the other. He just said it like before all of that. He said your manager don't like you, your own fans don't like you. You know everything about that club. They don't even like each other. The players probably don't even like themselves at this moment of time. Just because you've got a right wing back does not mean everything's going to change.
What are you on about?
It's definitely an upgrade. It's definitely an upgrade on your point. I hear it.
Let's respond for a minute. I get your point that there's only 3 points difference between us, but you're ignoring what I said. Trajectory. Man United started the season awfully. You guys had your greatest ever start to a Premier League season, yes?
Yes, in the first 11 games.
Yes, so in the first 11 games, it's your greatest ever start to a Premier League campaign. We are now 3 points ahead of you with a game in hand, by the way, which is at home against Leeds. We will go 6 points clear of you. And because our trajectory is going up, yours is going down. If you have a good eye test and you understand football, if you guys don't dramatically improve, United will start pulling away from you further. That's what happens when we're in the last. You said like January's been good for you. In the last 6 games, Spurs are 12th in the league with 7 points.
January transfer window.
Right. Okay.
I'll pass January. The month of January hasn't been good because we reversed
George, let me finish. So you said you improved over January. You had less points in January than December. But Chelsea have improved their team. Man United have improved their team. Newcastle have improved their team. They are all playing better than you. And Pedro Porro, good signing. I think you've brought a good player in there. You've got Dan Juma that's come in. Of course you needed him because you bought Richarlison and he's doing what exactly he said we'd do for you. Nish.
Been injured half of the time, yeah.
Spurs are not making the top 4 this year unless there is a dramatic turnaround of performance, not results, performance. You've put in about 4 good performances in the league this year out of 19 games.
Football was a game about what? Football is a game of results. And my manager is a man that gets results. He may not be the best performances over the past month, but yes, versus Arsenal, it was a bad game. Versus City, it was a bad game. We've got all these games where you guys have had the advantage of your last 12 or 13
hang on a minute.
Period.
You say it's about results. In your last 11 games, you're 14th in the league with 4 wins and 6 defeats.
So Terry, you're going back to what our team was. I again never said that the performances had improved. I never said the performances had improved.
But you just
said
the
team's about results.
You just said
we're going to get better results.
You ain't getting results.
And we're going to get better results.
What proves you're getting results when you haven't been getting good results since the beginning of October?
Due to what? As I said, we've gone over that
time and time again, Terry. We've gone over this time and time again. I don't believe your poor performances are because you didn't have Dan Juma and a better right back.
No, there's many reasons. We had injuries. It's like
we
every
all
other
have
team.
injuries.
When Chelsea have no Reece James, their excuse is no Reece James, no Chilwell. You mentioned it. You said no Reece James, no Chilwell.
No, I said
you didn't mention when Tottenham went 5 or 6 games without Bentancur. You didn't mention when Tottenham went games without Romero. You didn't mention when Tottenham went games without their best players. So again, there's context for other teams. There's no context for Tottenham because you don't believe nothing in Tottenham. But that's fine because when Tottenham come and get top 4 and we're there with you, who's going to be laughing? We're going to be laughing because again, you've written us off time again. Like
now, one of you guys are not getting it because Newcastle is getting top 4.
The point is, though, George, it's not about hating Spurs, how you put it. I'm defending myself in that regard, and I'll tell you why. Last year, when your performances were good, I tipped you getting top 4 over Arsenal because your performances showed me you were going to be able to do it. I judged teams on their performance levels over a long-term period, more so than their results. That's how football's done. But on Chelsea Fulham. I think most of us have predicted a Chelsea win in this game, barring Lewis, who isn't too sure. Moving on from that, this brings us nicely into what the viewers have voted for as the next subject. 79% want to speak about Tottenham versus Man City. George, how confident are you going into this game against the champions, bro?
Need y'all to be good.
Do you know what? Huh?
We need y'all to be good. You guys gonna do something for us. Tottenham, can you do something for me?
You know what? With this game, again, like this is against Man City. It's a hungry Man City. We saw what happened the last game we played against Man City. I'm not gonna be confident and say we're gonna get a win. I feel like we're gonna get something though. We're at home. Man City have never won, never even got a point at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, and it's like 4 years.
That's what you said about Arsenal.
We've got a decent record. Well, we've got a decent record against City. We are the one team that knows how to play against City. We even showed that in the last game that we know their weaknesses. We can exploit them. But Tottenham have weaknesses too, and it's whether we can hold out and stop them from scoring. That's the main problem. Again, we've got a new signing. How he's going to be implemented and if he even plays, it's a big question. But I'm confident that we can come away with the draw. I'm not going to say we're going to go beat City this week because, as you said, no manager. We're going to have our assistant manager taking the game. Conte's not there to do his magic team talks at halftime to wake these boys up when it's needed. Because we all know Tottenham's first half is a it's a mess. So
did you say magic? Did you say magic? Wait. Did you say magic team talks at halftime? Because last time you did that City, they got 4 past you. So where's that magic?
Again, it's City. So I don't know, like you want to say it's City. City are a better team than us. Like
all I know, never ever rely on Tottenham. You can never rely on Tottenham. That's all it is. And you know that, Jules. I don't even think you believe anything that you're saying right now. I'll be honest.
Do you have anything to back up what you say? Because you just throw
because I've been saying it for all season. Tottenham currently this season, by the way, are pretenders, and you have been pretenders, and I've been calling you pretenders for a minute now, and you know I have. And you say about Tottenham title talks, but we got clips of you on Never a Foul of you talking about title stuff and the best everything. That's and Terry was no, because you said if Arsenal are talking about the title, why aren't we? We're having the best this, best that, unbeaten run. I've got you, bro. Don't do this.
Show me. Show me.
100%.
I've never once said we're gonna win the title. So again, you
come
can
on the
say
show on
what
Monday.
You want. Say what
Let's go!
No one's got me saying Tottenham's gonna win.
You
the title.
and Deji are criminal.
Don't put me
just to interject quickly. No one is saying you said you were going to win the title. What I know, you or Patrick definitely said if Arsenal were in a title race, so are we, because we've had our greatest ever start to a league campaign. That doesn't take away from the fact that you say, why am I hating on Tottenham? My view is this: when Spurs fans say these things and then you fall away from it, you're always going to get banter on it. In terms of this game, though, JJ, what you saying? Can you see Spurs pulling off another brilliant win against City, or do you just see City having too much for Tottenham right now?
You know what? We haven't spoken about this whole, obviously, like Cancelo leaving Man City, Bernardo Silva, is he leaving or not? Are the stars aligning for the Gooners and for Arsenal? I don't know, maybe so. In past years, as Jules has said, like City have struggled against Spurs. Spurs have had their number in the Champions League even as well. Even in that game that it was in the FA Cup, I believe, Spurs were winning that game. Yes, they capitulated and they were Spursy, but they were winning that game. Now, can they keep up that kind of momentum? I guess we'll have to wait and see. But I've got a feeling that Spurs win this though, and I know that that's why I've got a feeling that Spurs win this game, and I think the gap for Arsenal just increases.
I'm not even trying to be funny. Like, I just think, I know we don't know no Man City fans. We really don't. So none of them are going to be in the chat so they can hear me hear this or say this. But when we played against them in the cup, I know they won, but I was just like, is this it? Like, you definitely have to have more than that for sure. And there's definitely like some issues there. There's some players that don't want to be there. And even though Spurs, like you said, capitulated at their home ground with a couple of new players, I don't know, like it could be a closer game than people are saying if Spurs can keep them out. But I'm seeing like Manchester City drop points here for some reason. I just think it just feels like they're going to drop points. Now, will we be able to get over Everton? Hopefully. But I think Spurs have a little something for Manchester City at home. You know, I just think the matchup just feels like Spurs can get something out of it. Kulusevski will be a couple, games past his injury. Kane is doing Kane things, even though people aren't talking about him. He's having a decent season, and they have a fresh, Danjuma. I'm bigging you up right now because I'm just trying to believe what I'm saying here. Don't clap. But
I'm clapping.
But yeah, I think you got some.
Kane's doing his thing, and he's not been spoken about. No, you're right. Kane's been doing his thing, and not that many people have been speaking about it. He will be on 20 goals real soon, and not that many people are speaking about it. So.
Yeah. Anyone else got something to say? Because I think we're downplaying City a little bit here. Like, we're talking about Man City that goes into Feb, March, and April City, which is a different complete city. And this is where it gets a little bit techie. That's why I say I can't see it personally, and it's because it's in their months now. And I think the last game kind of shows it. Mahrez, Ake, them sort of players. Mahrez coming on form is scary itself. Obviously, it's a bit techie with the Cancelo stuff though, so that could also play a factor maybe. But
I mean,
if anyone's going to get the team up, it's going to be Pep, right?
you guys were saying that like Man City are so different after, and you guys started out saying in December they're good after December. They're good after January. Now you guys are saying they're good in February, March, April.
No,
When are
it's
we going to see
factual
the
though.
City kick on? When are we seeing
Yeah,
it?
no, I hear you. It might not be the same City that we used to seeing, but typically
Yeah.
business end of the season City is now. It comes
I
now,
hear
and it's
you.
like this is where they pick up. I think that we've seen it with Liverpool, where Liverpool are leading the pack, and then all of a sudden City come out of nowhere. You
Yeah,
know,
for sure.
so that's all I'm thinking. I'm not gonna doubt Tottenham too much, but as I said, never trust Tottenham to do you a job or a favor.
This will be like the one time you guys don't beat them, and because we need you to. I just
Yeah.
feel like the Spursiness of it all, you guys would just be like, F it. It just
We do have some other important games to focus on. So if it's a game that we drop points in, it's a game we drop points in.
I don't know, man. Again, I don't know if you can afford to. If you look at this weekend's fixtures, we'll obviously get onto United a little bit later, but United are at home to Palace, very likely to win with how we are playing and their levels. Who do Newcastle have? Newcastle at home to West Ham. Like, Newcastle and United are likely to win.
Didn't you just drop points against Palace?
Away, though.
So it's not
From
very
a bad
likely
way
to
free
win.
kick.
So are you saying it's not very likely that Man United beat Crystal Palace at home in the Premier League?
Well, again, football's football. It's not very likely if in the last game you just drew with them, you might not
wait,
win this game.
So you don't think it's? So you don't think
I
it's
don't
likely
like
that
how
Man
you've
United
got
win
so
at
much
home?
optimism for United, and it's
But if you were
completely
playing
opposite
Crystal,
Tottenham.
if you were playing Crystal Palace at home, you're not playing Palace at home, then, are you? You're playing Man City.
I wasn't talking about that game in particular. It was just in general. But yeah,
Well, have you seen Man United's home record of late?
I have. It's very good. But again, Crystal
12
Palace.
wins, 12 wins in a row, isn't it,
Everything in the last
Terry,
game.
at home? 12 wins in a row since the draw?
Yeah,
Against who was it? Newcastle.
yeah. You know, Palace have scored only 7 goals away from home this season. They've only won 2. I think they've lost their last. They've actually won 2 of their last 5 away games. One of them was against Bournemouth. The other game was against West Ham. Against all the big teams, they lose, and they invariably do. Like United and Newcastle are likely to win, and they'll play before you. That the whole notion of it's a game where we drop points. If you're 6 points behind Newcastle and United, with them having a game in hand over you when you play City, you've got to win. You can't afford to go 9 points behind us in a top 4 race.
Again, we saw last season Tottenham was 9 points behind Arsenal this time in February as well. We were way behind them. And even times in March. So the top 4 race we've seen time and time again, season after season, it chops and changes, especially this time of the season where it's going to be 2 games a week for the rest of the season. A lot can happen, a lot can change. So if whatever the point difference is right now, I'm not worried until we start getting later into March, close to April, and then we'll start looking at the point difference. But until then, we're in the battle. We're here.
You're in the battle, no doubt. Viewers, do us a favor and smash the like button now for us. Over 1,200 likes, which is amazing on this show. Let's get it up to 2,000 likes, please. That'll be out of this world. We've got some super chats here I can't ignore. First one says, speaking about top 4 without Brighton right now is a crime. Maybe. I just don't know if anybody believes they're going to make it there, but thank you for the super chat. Spurs haven't signed Cafu, mate. A right back isn't make or break signing. Danjuma hasn't been at Villarreal the whole year. Spurs are not making top 4 is what Red White Pappy 93 has got to say here. Spurs fans don't accept reality. Small club is what Sean Newlands has got to say. This says you're delusional. Newcastle has the best defense in the league. They've only lost 1 game in their entire season, is what Alexander says. That they have. For me, I think Newcastle are going to slightly. I mean, we'll see what happens after signing Anthony Gordon, but I do think they may just slightly fade away in the second half, but they could definitely come top 4. There's no doubt about it. Tottenham fans are deluded. Newcastle is inevitable. They're going to replace him in the big as a big 6 club. Do you think it'll be the big? Do you think it will stay as the top 6, or do you think it will become the top 7? How do you think?
It'll stay as the top 6, and we're not going to be the ones to fall out. It'll definitely be someone else, as we can see. Chelsea and Liverpool behind us right now, so I don't know why the talk's about us.
It's definitely not going to be Chelsea.
Doesn't matter. We could get relegated and still be in the
It's
top
not
6.
Chelsea and Liverpool, George.
I'm sorry, but don't get, if you get relegated, you're not in the top 6, JJ. And yes, Tottenham.
I'm telling you now, we'll still be in the top 6 over Tottenham.
It won't change for a while, though.
Finish mid-table, you're not in the top 6.
If there's any team to drop out of the top 6, it will probably be the one with no trophies. I'm just saying.
Trophies, we have plenty of those. I don't know if you know this. We have plenty of those. So
Terry, trophies then, if that helps.
Yeah, Terry, you won all your trophies in 20 years. You didn't win
and that's why recently we have more of an argument to be in the top 6, my friend.
You didn't win nothing for 120 years.
We've won the most trophies.
Actually, wait one second, Lewis. I'll give you a factual.
Found out what it's like to be a big club.
They did, though. They did. Chelsea did, though. If you actually look at your
history,
once
you win some European trophies, you might realise what it's like to be a big club too, my friend.
They had about 2 trophies in 120 years. So again,
we had more European trophies than Tottenham before Roman Abramovich, but fair enough.
You never know, because Tottenham had the most amount of Europe. We have 3 European trophies in London.
Yeah, did you? We had 3 European trophies.
JJ, do you always love this? You always love the when they talk about the most European trophies, they say London. They have to ring fence it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I love it.
They start.
Yeah, we know our battles. We know our
battles.
battles.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it, guys.
Right, Jess?
What did you say, Kaz? It broke up.
The reason why Jess is staying quiet, right, Jess?
I have nothing to feel any type of way about. We're top of the league, and we'll win ours at some point.
I've got a Pedro Porro song from a Spurs fan. If you want me to play it, it's up to you. But he completely made it up.
Go on, then.
Play it, I'll play it.
Yeah,
you want me to? Shall I play it? All right. Some of you know, some of you don't.
Is there any background music?
Sonny will score with Porro, so you gotta hang on till tomorrow. Come what may. Oh, Porro, it's Porro. I love Pedro Porro. So joyous to watch him play.
There you go.
He's got a great voice, man.
Oh my God!
Wait, JJ, you don't go laughing. Darwin. That's
a great song.
You could have played that in the clubs. Let's not
Wow.
stop.
You guys, I want to know though, like when do Chelsea and Spurs play each other again? Because
end of the month.
Now Felix is going to 2-foot Pedro Porro, isn't he?
I'm looking forward.
We all know the rumors, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they ain't rumors. You can tell those things are true. They ain't no rumors. They
rumors. Can't wait. I can't wait. I like drama.
We know the rumors. It's either he hates him or João Felix is a cuck. It's one of the two. We're not too sure which one it is. Maybe he enjoys it. Maybe it's his kink. Won't be surprised if our new signings get injured too. Oh, sorry, I clicked on the wrong thing here. I don't know why that one came up. That was weird. Won't be surprised our new signings get injured too, is what Mo has got to say here. Being hated by everyone in the league because our owner again feels nice. Tell him, Lewis.
Big up, my G.
Potter has all fine.
All the fine clay in the world.
Okay. I thought you were going to continue talking then. Sorry.
Oh.
Can't bake a proper run in the table. Is what Grant says here. Strange to be happy with a loss just because you spent some money. That's good retail therapy. It's a real thing. It's a real thing. Spurs and who?
Escom
share the.
Is that a next club?
I don't know what they share the same trophy cabinet. It's broken. Taking the mick as a Spurs. That must be the sponsor from South Africa. He means Spurs sponsor has outraged South African public. Well, we know why that is. I mean, it's not Spurs' problem, but I get you. American sport is run based off of competitive balance. It's the game uncertainty hypothesis. The more uncertain the result is, the more people watch. Well, the Premier League has that. Check out Champions League final numbers or World Cup final numbers versus the Super Bowl. It's powered into insignificance, my friend. Why do fans give a F how much clubs spend on players? All I care is about my club bring the right players and win, is what DX11 says here. Chelsea and Co. loving the chat and banter. Arsenal for life. That is from Steve Hughes. And this, I already had that one at the top there. And us Chelsea love the hate means we are feared, is what Daniel has got to say here. I want to say a big thank you here to Fast Cars RC for becoming an official Academy member of the Football Terrace. So thank you very much, my friend, for signing up and becoming a member. Viewers, keep hitting like and share buttons for us as well, please. Closing in on 1,500, which is amazing. So score predictions. Score predictions for this game. What are you going with, Jess? Tottenham versus Man City.
2-2. Hopefully.
Kaz?
I agree.
I'm going 3-1 City. Just because the fact that there's no threat from Son whatsoever, and it's just Kane, and I don't know. Like, I don't want to doubt him too much, but it's just because it is Spurs. I just think it's going to be a 3-1. I think City going to be hungry, and I'm not too sure what's going on with Conte. He's not going to be on the sideline either, is he?
Nah, not till next
Yeah,
week.
I think that's a big factor as well. It is important to have your manager there, especially in a big game. So I think that's the biggest blow for them. Yeah, I'll say 3-1 City.
AJ?
I'm probably going to be wrong, but I'm saying 3-2 Spurs. I think Spurs nick it somehow.
Ooh. Carefree Lewis?
Yeah, I'm with Kaz. I'm going to go 3-1 City. I think it might be a bit tough for them because they don't really like going to Spurs' ground. They haven't got a great record there, but City are still going to win this one. So yeah, 3-1.
And George?
I'll go as 2-2. I think we'll draw. I think we'll walk away with a point. It's going to be tough, but not having the manager there should fire up the players. And yeah, Kane had his best game against City last season in this, so hopefully he can replicate that.
And obviously, because I'm a secret Arsenal fan and I hate Tottenham, my prediction
4-1 City.
2-1 Spurs. I don't want you to win, but I actually think I actually think it's one of those games where because you haven't got the manager, because everybody's expecting you to lose, it's going to be one of those kind of results that goes in the other direction. So I think Spurs may nick it 2-1. A little bit like last year. I think you just have some fight. I actually think as well, if you manage it right, you can kind of use Conte's sort of being away and being unwell as a way to motivate the players. It should motivate the players. You know, they know what they've got to do. City are not that great at the moment. The City fans don't like me saying it, but there's something a little bit off with them. This is a bogey ground for them as well. They do not like going to White Hart Lane. So as long as those fans are up for it, and the counters work well, we will see. But I'm going to go 2-1 to Tottenham, which isn't the result I want. I want Spurs to. I want a draw, so they both drop points. But I'm going to go with Spurs win 2-1 in this game. Viewers have said here we've got 2-1 Spurs. Dan Potts says Don One says 2-1 Spurs. Don't you want City to win, George, in spite of Arsenal? Is what Rom says here.
No, I'm not that salty, but last game they already benefited from that, so I can't have it 2 times. Nah.
That's I get you on that. Here someone says 5-0. City ain't gonna win 5-0. I'm really sorry. I don't think City can beat them 5-0 at White Hart Lane, no matter how much you dislike them. The Super Bowl still rakes in more money due to advertising revenue, Terry. Yeah, but we didn't argue who brought in the most revenue. We said who gets the most views. It's football. I don't mean it rudely. The NFL. I watch the Super Bowl. It's a good sport. But you're not as big as football, bro. Like, it's just simple as that. Like, just football's the biggest individual. I think football's the biggest individually watched sport in the world. So, a professional sport in the world. So,
America, you know what it is with Americans? They think America is USA is the world. Most of them, like, we're here to save the world. No, it's America that you're looking at, not the world, is it?
Yeah, I do love how like someone wins like in baseball they win the World Series through competing against Americans and Canadians. I love that they've got the World Series. I've always found that funny. I never really understood it myself, but there we go. Up next, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about Arsenal. Will they go 8 points clear this weekend? But I wanted to start on Arsenal and talk about the situation with the transfer window. Obviously, Jess, there's been a fair amount of criticism of Arsenal. They didn't land Mudryk, they didn't land João Felix, they couldn't get Caicedo over the line. They ended up with another player after a retirement plan. They ended up with Trossard. On reflection now, a couple of days later, how happy are you with the transfer window for Arsenal?
Yeah, I mean, there's just... if you remove all the context around missing out on primary targets, we did what you're supposed to do in January. You're supposed to reinforce and bolster the squad for the second half of the season. And one of the big things that everybody's been talking about is the lack of depth from an Arsenal perspective. We don't have any depth. We don't have any experience. We have a bunch of kids that are trying to, push for a title. And, I think we've solved some of that, with Jorginho and Trossard, two Premier League proven players that fit straight into what we need. Like if we needed Jorginho tomorrow, he could play tomorrow. If, Trossard has already kind of stepped in and done a good job at Arsenal in the first 2 games that he's played. So I think we have done a good job there. And with some players coming back, I don't know if you guys have seen, Jesus is running again. Reece Nelson is back. Like we have some players that are coming back into the fold, so that depth is looking better. And so we've done a good job in January in regards to that. In terms of, my biggest gripe is just getting big deals over the line. I think that that's a little bit of a concern, especially for the summer. If we do, push for the title all the way to the end, even maybe win it, and then we're in Champions League next season, you have to be able to get these big deals over the line because these are the type of players that are going to take you to the next level. We're beyond that point of like bringing in 20, 30 million pound players it's like the next level of players are going to cost you a lot. There's going to be a lot of competition for them and you have to get them over the line. And I think that's the best way to support and back your managers to get him your number 1 targets. And Edu's had a difficult time getting that done. And whether it's he's working with limited funds, in comparison to the other teams that are trying to get those players, that's one thing. If he can't negotiate, that's a problem. And so it does worry me for the summer. We know who our number 1 target is. It's Declan Rice, but Chelsea will be in for him, maybe Man City. You never really know. Liverpool probably in for him as well. You can't, diddle around and not get those players when we're in an advantageous position. So I do worry about that. And that's my biggest gripe of the window is that we didn't get those deals done. And that's what Arteta wanted. But in terms of what we did in order to push for the title, I think if you look at our squad now, it looks really, really strong going into the back end. It's not City's squad. I'm not saying it's as good as that. But now people can't really say like, okay, well, if Partey gets injured, what happens? Okay, Jorginho comes in. Okay, what if Martinelli or Saka gets injured? Trossard comes in. If Gabriel gets injured, we have Kivior. So yeah, we did what we needed to do, but there's still some lingering kind of stuff back there. Like, why didn't we get those deals done? And yeah, that's the only thing I didn't like about the window.
I thought it was a blessing in disguise, the Jorginho sign. Was you going to say something quick? Sorry, Jerry.
Yeah, I was just going to elaborate on that because looking from the outside, I know there's this feeling with it amongst Arsenal fans saying, "Oh, but there's this issue. We can't get these big deals done." Arsenal are in a position to actually make those big deals without there being a massive kind of risk. So if I look back at Liverpool didn't make massive, and yeah, of course we spent a lot on Virgil van Dijk, and that was a lot of money, and Alisson. But before that, we had won the Champions League that enabled us to go and get these players. Arsenal win the league this season. You're going to be able to go and attract a different level of player. You're not going to be spending 70 million on a player that's only played 26 games in Caicedo, for instance. Like you're going to be looking at spending 70 million on a Rice or 80 million on a Rice. Now, for me, I think that's the club being quite smart in the transfer window and looking at it and saying, you know what, for now, what do we need? We need strength in depth. Yes, if we can get that Caicedo deal over the line or the Mudryk deal over the line, cool. But we're not going to go and overspend the odds because spending that money means that he's got to go and deliver right now. He's got to be your starting midfielder. He's not coming in to go and back up what Partey is doing and stuff. And if he doesn't work out and you don't win the league, for instance, then you're going to be left in a tricky situation where he's got to go and perform now. And if he doesn't, you've got a problem. So I don't know. Yeah, Kaz, sorry. Yeah, I know I interrupted you a bit, but
No. I thought he's just, you know, it is when I've spoken last before Jess, and then I was thinking, yeah, we're gonna get that turn, innit? You know what I mean? Like Lewis is just he's turning Super Saiyan soon because if anyone don't know Lewis from beforehand, yeah, the chest with Chelsea and everything, yeah, wait till next season. But he's
Wait till
charging up.
next season, bro.
I think this is a great deal for Arsenal. Why? It's because the deal itself, I think it's a year with an extended option, so they can get rid of him quick if need be. And I don't feel 80 million Caicedo was the right move yet. And I don't think Caicedo is really that caliber of player either, in my opinion. I think he's very good, but not that good. I think maybe Declan Rice is more like for like. for Xhaka, if I'm thinking of that box to box tenacious player, I think Caicedo can play the same role, but I just feel 80 million in this window currently. I think they're still gonna win the league, regardless if they got Jorginho or not. What they do lack, I think, is a bit of physicality in that midfield just for backup, roughly. But I suppose you put some legs and stuff around Jorginho, you might see him thrive a little bit more. Whereas Chelsea, what Jorginho around it was a Kovacic and a Mount, not exactly the greatest legs you could say. Mason Mount, yes, didn't really play in the 8 anyways. A bit weak as well to help him out. Because I remember the Jorginho when he first arrived at Chelsea. I'm not going to say but as a backup. Remember, he's not a star, he's a backup first and foremost in case of Partey's injury. So he's not going to play every game. But to tell me that if you're having the whole game to yourself, who said now Partey can go in I believe the role what Xhaka's playing if needed, and Jorginho can come and you can really dictate a game more and more and more. So I think it's a good option that they've done this, and I think they've saved themselves from the summer of like getting like an average player. Oh, you're going to pay 80 million for Caicedo, then cool, you bought him now. We want 100 million for that player. What's what happened with Mudryk,
Yeah,
and we sparked that off.
Exactly. I think as well. I think going into like a title race that Arsenal were in, you need experience. You don't need a player that's not played a lot of games and that you're hoping that his form for a team where there's not a lot of pressure and they're playing loads of like great football, that you're hoping that transcends into this team that's going to go for a title. That's a different level of pressure. The reason why these players are doing really well is because they've been in it from the beginning. Adding any players to those, they have to be the right type of player. But looking at what Jorginho's done in terms of winning the Champions League at Napoli, in the Euros as well, it's not going to phase him being in that kind of dressing room and that dynamic and going into that. Caicedo's going to have the pressure, or a signing of that kind of caliber is going to have the pressure of not only the price tag, but then I've got to deliver right now, because if we don't, for whatever reason, one of the main reasons is because I didn't perform as well. So
yeah, I hear you on that. So go on, Jess.
No, the only thing I'm going to say is like, I know Arsenal fans don't really want to hear this, but like, it's going to take time for us to like build our reputation back up, a reputation that wasn't even big for buying players. Like I was having this argument before with some other people, like we've never really went out there and bought world-class players. Like that's not really what we've done. And so we don't have clout in the market, and we're not really known for doing those types of deals. And so when you've been bad for like a decade, you have to build that reputation back up. And it is going to take, like JJ has already said, winning trophies and showing you're that caliber and that level to get players to choose you first and not to turn their heads and stuff like that. So it's going to take a while, but it's so important for us to end the season strong, because a lot of what we want to do in the future that we're talking about, the Rices and other stuff like that, it really hinges on what we do at the end of the season. And so it's going to take time to build that up. We've been bad for so long, and just because we're being good for, a year and a half or something, like it's just going to take time. But the club also have to be prepared to do the business. And so by the end of the season, I expect them to be able to finish these deals off, because Arteta is the type of manager to me that, like, if he doesn't get what he needs, like maybe he will look away, so we need to be able to get him number one targets at some point.
Yeah,
if he's doing what he's supposed to be doing.
But Arteta also has got a reputation of going for a different type of player or a different position altogether, because Zinchenko and Lisandro Martin, and I know we had this argument at the end of the end of the window. Lisandro was being bought as a left back and he'd play inverted. He's not very good at that. And for me, I feel like your manager misses out on targets and he just goes for other areas or different types of players. So the fact that he's gone for Jorginho rather than a B-Tech version of Caicedo is a better option, because he's got a different plan of action. Man United missed out on Frankie de Jong, and instead of going for we were already signing Eriksen with or without Frankie de Jong. That was happening. But instead of going for a different type of Frankie de Jong, a version that wasn't as good, like a Rabiot, he went and bought a Casemiro, which is a different type. And that is what top quality managers do. And I think Arteta has done very well with J5. And I know that you kind of burn out, not J5 anymore, J20, isn't he? But with Jorginho, I feel like he burnt out a little bit at Chelsea. I feel almost as though what he joined Chelsea to do, i.e. play for Sarri under Roman, has kind of just run its course. But what is the expression? A change is as good as a rest. I think it's a very good piece of business from Arsenal. And Trossard, long term, I think Mudryk's going to be a better player than Trossard. But over the next couple of years, as a support act for Martinelli to maybe go in centrally sometimes, a bit of speed, bit of pace. I think Trossard's going to be an excellent signing for Arsenal. And as you say, some will call it PR. And I know I call out PR for clubs all the time. But in the summer, I believe Arsenal are going to go big. The only time this works out poor is if the money that you haven't spent this window on Declan Rice's and Caicedo's and Mudrik's is if you don't do it in the summer. Like you win the league and then it's almost you have a £60 million summer and don't really improve the squad. And I think all of us have got to hold our clubs to account at all times when they start behaving that way. And equally, Caicedo didn't join Chelsea. If you'd have lost him to Chelsea, then it's a bit of an issue because he is a main target and nobody wants to lose out on their targets. And maybe Arsenal walked away because they knew that even Chelsea were not going to be able to get him. I feel like would you have lost out on two main targets, the same club in one window? Probably not. And with hindsight, we now know that even Chelsea weren't able to get him. So maybe Arsenal felt we'd step back and we go again in the summer. It's going to be an interesting one because Chelsea and Arsenal were both looking at Caicedo and both looking at Declan Rice as well. So it's going to be a real interesting one. What do you make of it, Lewis? As a Chelsea fan, seeing Jorginho go to Arsenal, the fact that he might be that final piece of the jigsaw this season to win them their first Prem in 18 years. Is it kind of bittersweet or are you not so bothered?
I'm fuming with it. I won't lie. I'm really annoyed with it because I think Arteta is going to have him in the same sort of role that I wanted him to have at Chelsea, which is just a rotation option. Someone you potentially bring on, like I've kept saying, like I think the best role for Jorginho right now is to come on in the last 10, 15 minutes of a game. If your team's in a winning position and just slow the game down and control the play. And Jorginho is going to be brilliant at that for me personally. I know Arteta's going to know how to utilize him because Arteta's wanted him for years. Arteta tried to get him when he had Guardiola in 2018 for Man City. The only reason why he
went for Partey as well. That was his first choice.
Yeah, in 2020 as well. So I know Arteta knows exactly how he's going to utilize Jorginho. And I'm not going to say it's going to be decisive in Arsenal winning the title or not, but it's a step in the right direction. Because all Arsenal needed to do was just work on their depth. The biggest question about Arsenal is what happens if this guy gets injured? What happens if this guy gets injured? We brought in Trossard, who is very versatile around the front four. That's a good option for them. Jorginho literally just comes on in the game and controls possession. Or, like you said, you could push Partey a bit further forward and Jorginho would ball out as well because he's got a better midfield around him than we do. Our midfield is atrocious. The team that the midfielders that he was around, if they weren't injury prone, were always playing too further forward and leaving him exposed. I don't think Arsenal's going to do that. We've got the likes of a Mount, for example, who's meant to be a centre mid, but then is the furthest forward if you look at the average position. And then we wonder why Jorginho gets torched in transition. Genuinely think it's a good move for us. I think a lot of people are sleeping on it because Chelsea fans, well, not Chelsea fans, but a good portion just have never rated Jorginho from the start. And Arsenal fans are listening to that and thinking, oh, we just signed another old player for the retirement home. No, Jorginho is going to be a great addition to the squad. And yeah, it annoys me because I've been saying, like, I don't think Arsenal are going to win the league. I don't think Arsenal are going to win the league. This, to me, is a massive step in the right direction. So, yeah, I'm annoyed by it.
In terms of Arsenal winning the league, though, they've got a chance at lunchtime on Saturday. And it's weird because normally I feel like tomorrow's Saturday because Chelsea are playing. It's very weird. But they play in a couple of days' time against Everton. If they go 8 points clear, I think Spurs are beating City. If they end up 8 points clear this weekend, I know the narrative is the season doesn't start until April. Until the last 5, 6, 7 games, we shouldn't be talking about title races. We shouldn't be talking about Arsenal being favourites. We shouldn't be talking about them winning. Is that just bitterness towards Arsenal because they keep surpassing expectations? They keep making pundits look silly? Or what is it? Because, as I say, they will be 8 points clear come City's game against Tottenham. And if City lose that match, it's 8 points clear with a game in hand further. I look at the signings they've made. I just can't understand why people wouldn't make Arsenal the favourites from now. It doesn't make sense to me personally.
I think it's like what Jess said, like reputation. Like Arsenal haven't been in this position before, so like we're just expecting them to drop off. To me, like I've kept it real. The Man City game, if Arsenal beat Manchester City, that's it for me. I see them as title favourites. I think City have a lot of ground that they need to cover up. Even if they go 8 points clear and then they lose to City, I'm going to think City could still turn it around at that point. But the reason why I think a lot of people aren't thinking that is just It's Arsenal. Every time we've seen Arsenal in this position, they've fallen off. I know it's a completely different Arsenal side, but when you think of Arsenal, you don't think of them at the same level of a City or even a Liverpool when they were competing with Man City at the time, because they were doing it consistently. So, yeah, that's the main reason for it for me. But if they beat Man City, I don't think anyone can say anything by that point.
Yeah. That's just an interesting one. It's just an interesting one for me. And again, I'm not saying everybody should just write off City, say there's no chance. It's more the way it's almost. I don't want to talk about every other season for the past 4 or 5 years. Title races have been discussed from about 15 games onwards. Every signing? What's this going to do to the title race? How do you think Liverpool will come back? Do you think City will come back? But when it comes to Arsenal, you're halfway through the season. They've had one of the greatest starts of a campaign ever. There potentially could be 8 points clear with a game in hand come this week. And then their first match between them is also at the Emirates, where you would make them probably the heavy favourites. And it's almost if people want to rewrite how we talk about football. And I kind of get what Gary Neville was saying when he stated that the run-in isn't, the season doesn't start until April. Then by that logic, why are we even doing punditry in the build-up to it? Why is anybody talking about it? Why is there any reactions? Why do we listen to what fans think? Everyone should just keep their mouth shut until April. Is that what we're now saying? For me is just a little bit strange.
And boring.
We've always done this. Like, we've always kind of talked about it. We didn't place as much emphasis on it. Like, it's not set in stone. Like, when we get to April, we'll really know, but I've always done this. Like, always made preseason predictions. We've always done it. So I don't think we should rewrite history and act like we've never spoken about these things before. What I will say is that, like, I think there's just an element of like, well, I said that Arsenal didn't even have a chance to get into the top 4. Last season was their only chance of getting it, and now it's over. And seeing Arsenal at the top flying, I think there's an element of like, I need them to fall away because I don't want to say that I was wrong. And yeah, there's still time to go, but like, we're probably going to get Champions League. And people said last season that was it. They wrote us off badly. And I'm just like, it's crazy.
I'm going to call Neeks out here. I'm sorry to do this, Neeks. I know you're watching. Neeks said to me and Jess in the studio the other week about, he predicted that Darwin Núñez would be better and score more goals than Haaland this year. And he said something, and it made me laugh. He said that I'm not going to admit I'm wrong until like a couple of games of the season to go, because then I'm only wrong for a couple of games. If I admit I'm wrong now, then I'm wrong for 19 games and I keep getting stick. And I laugh, but it's actually true. I think a lot of these pundits are like, if they admit they were wrong about how, not Arsenal winning the league, but how good Arsenal are, admit that Arsenal are the favourites or marginal favourites in the title race, then I'm wrong for the rest of the season. If they hold on to it long enough and it does go wrong for Arsenal, they can go, see, I told you they weren't going to win it. Neeks here, did I say that? I don't know. Maybe it was you. Maybe it was KJ. It was somebody. Someone said it.
Oh, yes, you did. Yes, it was you. I remember you. Yes, you said that.
I'm not even demanding that Arsenal are made the outright favourites. They're definitely going to win it. It's just the kind of, they might win it. They've been brilliant. They've been great. They might win it, but we shouldn't even be talking about it now. But if it was the other way around and City were already 5 points clear, it would be written off and inconceivable that anybody else would get anywhere near them. And I just don't like that kind of talking football. It kind of
I don't care about it personally, though, Terry. I'll be honest. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'm quick to quickly say it. I'm wrong because I'd rather get called wrong now, and everyone's like, yeah, at least you can admit it, rather than in April you look like an absolute toad, innit?
It's a little bit like, but when it comes from professional pundits, what I felt with Sky, BT, all of these in the last few years is where they're now, it's almost like they've watched what's worked on social media, and it's almost as if they're fed narratives to say, it's like, right, this year you were going to be anti this player and you're going to stick to it no matter what, because it creates viral moments. And I get fans doing that because we're bantering each other. I don't want that from professional pundits. You're meant to be using your experience and understanding to educate the younger football fans, and they don't. We heard it last night. I don't know if you guys listened to the commentary of Man United versus Forest last night. Some things that were said by one of the commentators blew my mind. The first thing she said was, I don't think Casemiro's been that good at Man United. I think he just looks good because they haven't had a good DM for years. That's the first thing she said. So how good he's been is it's only because Carrick left. She also said something else, and I've never heard this said about any young player ever. She said after the amount of starts that he's now had, 7, by the way, in his entire career, we should now be expecting Garnacho to be scoring and assisting game in, game out.
What?
At 18, that's what she said.
I don't get it. You know what it is with the mainstream media, right? Is that they're trying so hard to do what everyone else is doing because everyone rather come on YouTube and listen to guys like us, right? Rather than them all the time. But then they've obviously got a platform to obviously spread that across every social media platform as much as possible. But this is what they have learned, though. They say mad stuff. It's like Tony Pulis with Chelsea. I don't get it. He said, what's the point of having an academy system? You're not going to use them. Okay, Gallagher, Reece James, Mount. There's endless players at Chelsea. The whole thing's built on youth, if anything. Yes, they sell a lot of players. It's like, but they are using the youth. So what you on about, right? So it's like Tony Pulis, you're wrong. He's like, you get a Bonglahor and flipping Talksport. Don't get me started on that guy. But
well, yeah, he said today. Like if you go, Anthony needs to be more like Rashford. He needs to start crossing the ball into the box more. Anthony crosses the ball double the amount of times per game that Rashford does. It's like, bruv, he was making a good point to a degree about Anthony, but you then use another player that doesn't do it either. These guys aren't serious. They aren't serious. And people wonder why I call them out, because I hold professional pundits to a different degree to I do fans. Fans are meant to be petty. Fans are meant to be a little bit stupid. I actually get annoyed at fans for trying to become too serious. I'm like, why? Like, there's a guy that comes on the terrace a lot who in the last 6 months, every answer he tries to answer like he's working for Monday Night Football and like he's a politician. He's gonna be held to account for everything he says. I'm like, bro, be a fucking football fan. Be a football fan for a minute.
You know what? This is why I like America with the basketball and everything. Everything they do, they just the football players themselves. They respond how they want to respond, and fair enough. And I think people just want a sense of realness. That's why fans, you come online to see what fans have to think. When you hear professional pundits, because they're trying so hard not to say the wrong thing to get cancelled. You know, all right, here's you go off your pop. There's your job. YouTube don't care if you say it. You know, and then or Twitch don't care to a degree. But them lot just want to just talk in this way. I'm like, I know if you was off camera, you would be saying a complete different thing.
Yeah, 110%. On Arsenal, though, are they going to beat? Are you home or away? Home.
Away.
Away at Everton. What's happening, people? Arsenal to get 3 points, go 8 clear? Or is there going to be some new manager, Sean Dyche bounce in this Everton side? What are you saying, Kaz?
I don't want to doubt Arsenal, right? I don't. I think I've learnt my lesson this year. But there's something about a 4-4-2 with Dominic Calvert-Lewin in it and Yerry Mina, these massive giants of Banana and that says to me there is going to be some heartbreak, whether it's a 1-1 right at the end or something like that, just proper Sean Dyche ball. I don't know why I'm thinking draw, because it's just, I think Everton fans have been waiting for something fresh for a long time. But I don't know how quick Sean Dyche can get these guys geared up. Well, because you know what we noticed about Arsenal, they start off quick. Would they give them enough breathing time to let them try and get the rhythm after a week's training session with Sean Dyche? I'm not too sure. My head tells me Arsenal smashed them 4-0. My heart tells me it's a 1-1.
How about yourself, Lewis? Do you think Arsenal are going to be too much for them, or could there be that, as you say, that kind of strong back line, long balls into the box? Could this pose a problem for Arsenal?
I expect Arsenal to win it, but I'm with Kaz where I'm thinking, because it's Sean Dyche, I'm just there's 0-0 just stuck in my head. And I feel like it might be one of those just dead games where they just sit everybody in their bus and their cars behind the goal and Arsenal just can't break through. But I still think Arsenal win. So I'm just going to say 1-0 Arsenal. But they make it hard.
What are you saying, JJ?
My head's... I'm in the boat with Kaz. I think my head's telling me... my heart is telling me Arsenal do. I think the story is there because I think City drop points. I think Arsenal drop points as well. I think Sean Dyche manages to scrape like a 0-0. Like Goodison Park. Yeah.
Are you worried?
I don't want to doubt Arsenal because you can't at the moment. Like, they've just been superb. But just Sean Dyche, I saw an image of him just smiling as like a player looks like he's about to throw up in some fitness trainer. I was like, yeah, it's not looking good. It's not looking good. So if you can get a tune out of them, I know it hasn't been a long time. If you can, you never know. 0-0. I don't think they win. I don't think Everton have a chance of winning, but they can potentially just say, you know what, we're not losing this game now. And I think the onus Arsenal are going to be, they're going to go up against one of those teams, and they're going to be in one of those games where Liverpool and City have been in the past, where 70th minute, 80th minute, and you're still 0-0 and you're trying to knock the door down and it's just not knocking down. And that'll be a test. That's going to be a good test for Arsenal to see where they are in terms of kind of their development. So we'll have to wait and see.
I hear you. What are you saying, Jess? Because as you know, I know you. I mean, I know what you said privately because I sit next to you every day, and I know you're a little bit like the new manager bounce, but you must be confident in terms of Arsenal turning up, staying cool, calm, collected, and getting the job done.
Yeah, no, I think we're gonna win this game. Honestly, like this whole now you guys have to pass this test. I mean, the only team that's kept us out is the best defense in the league, which is Newcastle, and they sat back in a block. There's no way Everton are going to be able to replicate what Newcastle does defensively, and what we didn't have against Newcastle that we'll have against Everton is the ability to bring like 2 or 3 forwards on that can unpick the lock as well. So I get it. It's like, is Sean Dyche and this is a new manager bounce type thing. But even if his bounce takes Everton to being like a mid-table type team, I still think we're gonna beat them. Like, I just feel like the team's not even thinking about new manager bounces. They're 3 points collecting. Like, they're so focused. And so I get it. But like, they didn't really bring in anybody in January. They sold their best player. In a week, is Sean Dyche going to be able to make them into a team that's going to be able to overtake, Arsenal? I don't know. So I'm feeling confident about it. I think there's unnecessary worry about this new manager bounce situation. I do think they'll be kind of up for it, but kind of like similarly to like how we did against Brighton. Once we score 1 goal, I think that'll be it. They're full of toxicity right now. If you look at their fans, they're not really into the club right now. They're kind of like, what is this place? So I think we'll win it. It'll be another test, the new manager bounce Dyche test. I think we'll pass it. I think we'll be fine.
Yeah, look, I kind of get that. I think that I think if you score early, it's over and done with. The only time it can become difficult is the longer it goes on without scoring, because they'll build up that kind of confidence. And it's whether or not, as you say, Sean Dyche can get them defending well, get the blocks in place, and sort of cut off those spaces. The fact, though, that the fans are still kind of protesting, they want their owners out. They didn't sign a striker, which they were promised they were going to get. There's such turmoil. And I just don't think Sean Dyche is a good manager. He's a good quality manager. But I just don't think he is blockbuster enough to get the fans on side. They might be absolutely up for it come kickoff. But you just get the feeling there's going to be just like an annoyance in the air. Just almost like a kind of resigned to the fact they're going to lose, and a frustration in the air. And if it is, like, Arsenal could annihilate them. Like, they really are not a good team. Arsenal could honestly put 3 or 4 goals past them this weekend, because the club's in genuine trouble. And I think from Arsenal's point of view as well, they know that City going away to Tottenham is one of the most difficult games for them. And winning that game the day before it, like, if Arsenal win, the pressure that's going to put upon City on that Sunday afternoon, that can't be denied. That is huge. That is massive. So I think that motivation for Arsenal, knowing that you can go into that game, meaning then if you win and City drop points, you could be anywhere from 7 to 8 points clear with a game in hand, past a halfway mark. That is a huge cushion. That essentially means that City have got to win 3 more games than Arsenal in the back end of the season to win the league. And the fact that Arsenal barely lose a game, to lose 3 more than City that don't look good, of course it's mathematically possible, but it is. And if got the game in hand, literally, who's your game in hand against? At home to Everton, the same team.
Home to Everton, yeah.
So they win that game in hand, and they could suddenly be 10 or 11 points clear. That suddenly means 4 wins more. It's not happening.
And they have to play each other twice.
And they play each other twice. And I think you throw all that in, this arguably could be one of the most decisive weekends of the Premier League. Gary Neville won't admit it. Jamie O'Hara won't admit it. None of these guys, like the pundits, won't admit it. They'll say, no, we've got to wait until April. A little bit like George was doing earlier. The kind of, there's loads of games left to go. We'll turn it around. Almost, they're just playing ostrich. They're just sticking their heads in the sand and ignoring the performances and the reality of the situation. So I am going to go with a Arsenal win. I'm going to go 2-0. I think it would be a comfortable win for Arsenal in the end. It might be a difficult opening 10 minutes. Maybe they'll be up for it. But as soon as Arsenal get a grip of the game, I think you'll strangle the life out of the fans as much as the team, because this Everton team, where are they even in the league? Are they in the relegation position?
19th.
19th.
Yeah. Why am I not seeing? Oh, sorry, I'm looking at the away record. Yeah, 19th in the league. This team, I'm looking who's above them. Wolves have started to improve recently. West Ham, maybe not. Like, they legitimately could go down. They're so bad. Yeah, Arsenal are winning this game for me. It'll be a shock if they don't. Someone says Terry's biased. I don't think I'm being biased. I think I'm being realistic. Do you know what I mean? If this was...
Why would it, but why wouldn't people think Arsenal are going to beat Everton?
I don't know.
I don't understand. Like, what is biased about the team in first beating the team in 19th? We have one of the best away records. I don't think people realize that. We're better away than we are at home. Why wouldn't people think we're gonna win? What's biased?
I can't even think of a draw. I'm only thinking a draw because of Daesh, not even the team.
Yeah, but do you know, just it's like earlier when it's like United aren't likely to beat Palace at home. Of course we are. That's literally when you're the big team and you're at home, you're always likely to win. Like, especially when you're in good form. I don't understand it sometimes. It's a crazy one, but
it's the block, man. They've got them sort of players.
Yeah, no, the Arsenal are going to win this. They're going to go 8 points clear, and then it's all eyes on Super Sunday. Another game on Saturday as well, though. I just wanted to get a quick take on it. It's not really got much focus at the minute. Are you confident of beating Wolves away, JJ?
No.
Why not?
No, why not? It's just not that very good. We're just not that very good at football. I see a draw. I think, like I said, the window was quiet. No, there's no reinforcements, no backing. No one's coming to back Klopp. No one's coming to back the Mandem. It is the way it is. We're gonna have to rely on Salah to just find some form, but it's not looking like he's going to anytime soon. Anyway, it's been a year now. People forget where he's been off the boil since AFCON. So yeah, it's not looking great. Konate's injured, and he's been our best centre back. So it looks like we're going to injury-prone Matip and Gomez at the back, who obviously has become the TikTok's favourite meme at the moment. Some people calling him Joey Spice, Joey Minaj. It's not looking great at the moment. So yeah, it is worrying. It's scary, but at this point now, as a fan, it's just you're just lethargic to it now. It's just, I guess, you can't get more annoyed. Like, the hope is gone now, isn't it, for me? So it's just wait until the end of the season.
How times change, innit? How times change, Jerry, in 1 year.
Yeah.
You're doing ninth.
Football for you, man. Football for you. So yeah, in regards to the game, there's not a lot of hope at all. I guess as fans, we have to just look at just rumours, isn't it? We're rumoured to get Bellingham in the summer. We're rumoured to have a potential takeover. Nothing that's actually happened yet, unlike Chelsea. So yeah, man, we'll have to. Did you see the article from David Lynch? Did you see the article from David Lynch? In regards to
it was. No. I need to read it, or I read the first paragraph and the headline. It essentially alluded to the fact that you might not really be for sale. And this is
yeah. It's just partial investment. Yeah.
I mean, Man United have got that, but the news from the people selling it are like, no, it's going to be a permanent takeover. That would be beautiful if your thing
according to ITKs, they're getting Qatari owners, isn't it? Like, no names. Because
I mean, look,
in my inbox again.
I mean, look, I wouldn't be surprised that they would be in talks if there's any discussion of obviously investment. Is it going to be full scale investment? I don't think it would be straight away. I think the fact that there's talks that there's up to 28 staff, so that's all things including scouting, analysis, football, directors of football, everything. They're all resigning or resigning this year anyway. Klopp's and FSG are going to oversee a potential new footballing director. I just don't see there being a sale anytime soon, personally. But I could be wrong. I'm not an ITK, but listen, there's no Qatari investor is going to come and want to do any partial ownership. So if FSG are strong on that stance, then that's it for me. But
remember, the Qatari people, that essentially, they can't actually buy Liverpool or Man United whilst they own PSG.
Different. That's
different.
I think that's QIA.
Are they different? Okay, so different groups.
QSI is a different group or something. Qatari Sports Investment. Yeah, it's a different.
Yeah, it's a different group. So look, there is, but I just don't see anyone that's going to go and put down any real money, and Liverpool need real money like in terms of to pump into the squad because
And
FSG
I'll be
aren't going
blunt with
to.
you. I don't think anyone's going to be serious about buying Liverpool until United sale goes through. Because for an investment point of view, Man United is the better bet. It makes more money. So if you're an investment company,
No, but Liverpool have been making more money. They've made more money this year.
yeah, but I think the
They're ahead of-
potential of Man United in terms of being run properly, debt free, and what they can do.
Yeah, of course. That's
all I mean from a business investment. And Liverpool fans will say that's BS, but it just isn't. And how do we know this? Because you just need to just literally watch what the business channels talk about, and then they don't talk about it from a kind of subjective football fan side of view. They're talking about it from purely a business perspective. And Man United have been in the mud for 10 years, but still generate almost more money than anybody else. Still in the top like 4 or 5 rich list. Imagine being run well for a 4 or 5 year period with investment. You know, there's plans with United to be able to extend the stadium to nearly 100,000, which they'll sell with new owners. So the money to be made there's crazy, but I'm sure Liverpool have something good happen soon. But yeah, I think you'll beat Wolves though. I think you'll beat Wolves this weekend. But I think it'll be one of those...
Terry, did you think the same thing when we faced Brighton a couple weeks ago?
No, because you were away to you are away to Wolves as well, aren't you?
Yeah,
I'm trying to be nice. Well, I want you to lose because it's funny to watch. But I feel like you might get one of those results that that. Have you guys seen that Irish lad who does TikToks about Liverpool?
Yeah, he gets stitched all the time.
Yeah.
I think I've never seen someone so wrong about a season before.
Well, I don't think he is wrong. I think he knows what he's doing. Whenever you'll win this game 1-0 and scrape it, and he'll do this is the real Liverpool. We're back. We're going to do it now. We're back. That's what he's going to do, and then it'll go wrong. He almost says it because he knows a bad result is coming. I think he's playing everyone a little bit. He's a smart guy. Do you know what I mean? But no, I think you might nick it. I think you might nick it. To be fair. I think you might nick it personally. This super chat here says
even that is shocking. Nicking it at the Molineux. That's shocking. Nicking it at the Molineux. What?
I mean, we know all about that, isn't it? Recently, we hate going there.
I know it's awful. I've got this super chat from Laddie that says, "I've been working on a merger at work, bro. Mad busy, but been watching. Much respect. The wheels will fall off at Arsenal. It will. It's a matter of if. Sorry, it's not a matter of if, but when." Laddie, long time no see. It'd be good to have you call in again. So yeah, forget the world's gone back to normal now and not everyone's working from home. And I haven't seen you call into a stream for ages. Why do the media hate Chelsea and Arsenal so much?
The media does not hate Chelsea, okay?
They hate us. But it's cool.
No,
it's
they
cool.
don't. All I've heard is they're brilliant. They're spending all this money. How have they done it?
Really? All I've heard is them criticizing us. Oh, we're overspending. Enzo's not worth this amount. Left, right.
Well, he's not, though. It's true.
He's not until he is. He's not until he is.
It depends what station. It depends what station, though. TalkSport hate Manchester United because they know it's going to get clicks, and also Arsenal. Actually, I think everyone just hates Man United and Arsenal. Where you go to, I don't know, man, they will never speak bad on Tottenham. When you go to Sky Sports, Man United don't really get as much as some other clubs, but they will love of Liverpool still.
Tottenham can get praised when they lose. It's a weird thing. It's like, they tried so hard though. It's kind of weird. They're the only club where like Harry Kane's a great striker, but he's the only player that I've ever heard them say he could become a legend without winning trophies. The rest of you need trophies, but he can do it without them. It's crazy.
It's because they're losers, so you got to paint a narrative.
Edu clever getting Jorginho. Todd can't hijack his own players. This is. I did see a funny super chat the other day. Someone sent in. It was almost like breaking news. Todd Boehly hijacked Jorginho to Arsenal. It tickled me like painting the dumb American narrative. Arsenal were laughing at Jorginho. Now he's a serial winner at Arsenal. Lol is what most is. Yeah, of course. That's the way narratives change.
100%. Best CDM in the league, just behind Thomas Partey, as far as I'm concerned.
Exactly.
There you go.
This is the spirit of Matoma is still haunting Liverpool fans. Oh, mate, that guy, the rise of Matoma is crazy. I did want to ask a question to you all though before the end. It's one of the final subjects. I know the viewers are going to want to care about this as well. Hit the like and share button for us. Will Mason Greenwood return to Manchester United? And should he, I suppose, is the big question. What do you think about this, Kaz, as a United fan? And just to read it out, there has been a statement from Marcus, I've done that twice today, from Mason Greenwood today. And his statement that has come in is I'm relieved that the matter is now over, and I would like to thank my family, loved ones, and friends for their support. There will be no further comment at this time. Like, what's your take on it, Kaz? I mean, obviously the charges have been dropped, but does this now mean, in your opinion, he should return back to Man United?
For where Man United are at now compared to last year, no, he shouldn't. And also, to keep it nice, short, and sweet, I'm gonna keep it. Remember, this is all coming from. This is just my opinion and nobody else. I don't represent nobody else, but this is my own view on this, right? So don't take it in any other way, because I could say some dangerous stuff, and I don't want to, and I don't want to affect nobody. So this is all on me. I'm not gonna say some mad. So the allegations that have gone around, etc. Law is law, right? And that's where it is and always has been. But the law can also get it wrong sometimes. So it's a human element. It is a judgment from a human. But the way I look at it is like, I heard what I heard and I saw what I saw. And yes, the narrative can get changed so easily, like, because some people can make it out to be what it's not, to pinpoint and put something on somebody that is false. But the way I look at it is, I heard what I heard. I heard the tones in, allegedly, by the way, in a voice recording of supposedly Mason Greenwood, the tones in the voice towards the end of the voice note, I heard the tones like saying, watch out, like, you know what I'm going to do to you, kind of thing. When a woman or a man or anything that you want to represent or identify as, if you say no, right, it's no. You stop, right? You can change your mind in a quick instant. So if you are in that sort of phase within yourself, you know, no is no, bro. So you stop and you don't press on. Like, that's just the way I look at it. Because the way I look at it is that, from obviously a human element, and I get football, politics don't separate, but if that was my mum, my sister, or my very good friend, or anybody that's close to me, how would you like, I would feel distraught, because I know what's going on personally, but no one believes me. So allegedly of what's gone on, it's like, again, from what I've heard, I can make that judgment. A bit like stats in a way. You can make that judgment, and this is just, it's there for me to listen to, and I can only make my own judgment again off of it. And on my opinion, I would say keep him far away from Manchester United. You know, it's Man United's to deal with now and see where they go. But it's someone close to me, I know how I would feel personally, and that's that. Because drop charges does not mean guilty or not guilty, by the way, if you want to look at it from a law perspective, right? Because it's just drop charges. So you haven't been found to be innocent, or you haven't been found to be guilty neither. So you can take it how you want, each to their own, I'm gonna say, and leave it as that.
I hear you on that. I mean, again, there's a lawyer who used to be a prosecution for the Crown. He's now an independent lawyer. Has said that if you're not found guilty, then you are innocent. But equally, that's the way the judiciary system works. But as you say, it's broken. There are issues there. From your point of view, Jess, looking at this, do you see him, whether it's United or another club, do you see him returning to football? Do you think a football club will at some point give him an opportunity again? He's 21 years of age. He was one of the most talented young players in the world. Do you think he's going to get another chance?
Yep. I would not be surprised if we see him in preseason for Man United in the summer. Like, that's what it feels like it's leading to. I know that United have put out their statement that they're going to do their own investigation, but really, as if the court of law dismisses the charges from the club's standpoint, they can feel validated in still playing him, you know? So I do think he'll play again. And I think after a couple of boos and, you know, maybe a little bit of people saying stuff, it'll ease on out. That's just how these things kind of work, you know? So I do think he'll play for Manchester United again, and probably not this season. It'd probably be too hot, but they'll ease him in, you know, eventually, because what can you say? They can always just say, well, by the court of law, he's innocent, you know? So, yeah.
Yeah, I hear you on that. And obviously, like Lewis, I obviously saw your post earlier on today I clearly know your personal sort of views on it. But is this now a case for football? And I'm not trying to call anybody else's club out here, but I think all of our clubs, I mean, just take our 3 clubs on here. Man United, we look at Arsenal with some situations recently. You look at Chelsea with sort of John Terry, or the situation with ever before Roman, the covering up of the child allegations. We all know that our clubs can all be compromised in one way, shape, or form. Do you think Man United will be compromised here and do this? Or do you think they'll do morally, in many people's eyes, the right thing and terminate the contract and essentially pass the problem on to somebody else in that way by saying, listen, we're not going to play you anymore. But if a Spanish club or a Russian club or a Middle East club wants to buy you, that's on them. Like, what do you see happening from this point?
I'm not too sure because it's sticky from United's perspective. I don't think anyone should be using this to point score either. Like, I get, like, let's say worst case scenario, you see Mason Greenwood play. Opposition fans are onto him every single game. Like, that's just going to happen, but that's just the nature of what football fans are like. And also, he deserves it. So it is what it is. From United's perspective, though, like, legally, it's sticky. Because, like you said, he is innocent. Legally, he hasn't done anything wrong. So you can't necessarily fire him for it. You could say, like, maybe there's gross misconduct or something, and maybe that would work. But then couldn't he also sue Manchester United back for that because all of his charges were dropped? So from United's perspective, I don't really know what they can do. Maybe they just have to keep him on contract until it runs out and then just act like he doesn't exist. But I've seen them already put Mason Greenwood's name back on the squad list on the Manchester United website. So I don't know.
On the Man United website, it never came off. It was removed on the app for some reason. It's consistently been on the club's website.
Oh, so it's not there.
So it wasn't re-added. It's always been there on the website, but it was off the app. Don't ask me why, because I don't go on the Man United website. But yeah, I found out today that it always been there. So I got caught out by that too. But yeah, look, I agree with you. Like, there are lots of things now to jump into, and I think for me, United now need to do their own investigation. And I'm sure that Arsenal did this in the summer with their situation. I'm sure Tottenham, when they were looking at buying Basuma, did the same thing. And they're all at different degrees. But they essentially, I think if Mason Greenwood is like, I have done nothing, he has to prove it. I mean, if I was in Man United's situation and it was my business, my club, my organization, I would be asking for full disclosure to everything and say, oh, we want to review it. Outside of that,
how could they come to their own conclusion though? Because if it's already gone through the law and they've dropped it, like I get, but I don't know how United can go through their own.
Because employment law is very different from criminal law. So criminal law has to be able to prove something beyond reasonable doubt. And if there's holes in the story, you might not be able to prove it. But I don't know where you grew up, Lewis. Maybe you still saw these things. Where I grew up, there was a lot of people committing a lot of crimes. Some of the crimes we all enjoyed because it meant we got cheaper trainers on the estate, cheaper computers. You know what I mean? You get a pair of Nike Air Maxes for £25. You know what I mean? Because they floated off the back of lorries and stuff. We like that kind of crime. There were other crimes that were more gang related, but we all knew on the estate that it was. I'm not going to say their names. I don't know what they're up to these days. Who done who? But yet they're walking around scot free. And I remember once we had police come to our school and they were like, "Oh, we really need your help with like getting the crime off the streets." And I remember my brother in the school assembly saying, "Well, so you want us to grass? Because we really think you know who the issues are, but we just need people to give evidence against them." And we're like, "So you know who the criminals are, but you don't have evidence against them." Does that make sense? So you can kind of like, I don't know. I look at this from an employment point of view. If I own the business and I know that guy breaks the law, I don't have to prove it beyond reasonable doubt. I can just not give him a job, or I can just sack him because I've got fears that he's bringing my company name into disrepute. And it's just getting that right, so you're not sued for wrongful dismissal. And as long as there's enough to say, listen, we've heard the voice notes, we've seen the pictures, you can't prove to us you didn't do this, that there surely must be grounds legally for Man United to walk away from it. And I hope that there is for us to do it. And I hope the Glazers don't penny pinch and say it's too expensive for us to take the risk. You're just going to remain a Man United. I mean, maybe the outcome is he just remains a Man United player on the payroll until his contract runs out in 3 years' time, but we never see him again. I don't know. But
I think just as a baseline, he can never play for United again.
Yeah.
I don't know. I got a feeling the club might look at it as like they could put, because he's young, put that obviously like, as a fact, I'm putting through like a rehab kind of thing and watch him and keep putting out PR stuff for this and that. And as Jess, I believe, said so as well, man. You score a few goals, mate, and that's it. Things change. It does.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those crimes, I think, where people will say, or even though he's not been found guilty of it, it's one of those situations where people would say certain things you deserve the chance to like recover. But generally in society here, that is an accusation which, if you're found guilty of it, you don't come back from. There's certain things you can do, but you don't come back from. That's a real difficult one, but it remains to be seen. Man United have released a statement, a very short one, and they've essentially said here that Man United notes the decision of the Crown Prosecution Service have been dropped. The club will now conduct their own process before determining the next step. So they are going to do some kind of internal investigation, which, by the way, they've probably already done. But obviously they can't say nothing until things come out. So
because the proper statement, it's because the proper statement takes time. You know, like it takes time. You have to do it so correct where you don't upset no party. And
and again, there's legal ramifications. There's certain things that, like, there's certain things that Man United can't say by law. And like people get annoyed. You know, like when a fan is caught on camera, making a racial gesture or saying something racist to a player. I see people online get angry at media outlets when they say allegedly the fan did this. Like, why are you saying allegedly? Because legally that newspaper has to. If they don't, they get sued for hundreds of thousands, millions of pounds. And with all due respect, like, they're not going to lose. They can't lose that money. They can't make that mistake. Like, we all know what we've seen, but you're not allowed to say they've done it until it's been proven, because that's the law and it's the way.
And last thing, remember his girlfriend, who apparently he's allegedly still with, did not want to press charges in the first place. It was because of the uproar of the public, where the police overruled it and went with it. It's because when it got leaked. So I do wonder, the only way to save his own image is if she comes out with a certain statement for him as well. And that's the only way for me. Sorry,
that's why I'm also like not sure if United do their investigation, will they even get anywhere further in it? Because they'd have to get other witnesses, which would probably be that woman or the family. And from the sounds of it, they're not trying to shop Greenwood up. So I'm just not really sure on that.
Yeah, it's all very murky. And as I say, for me, where my gut feels, I don't want to see him back in the United shirt. I just feel as a father of one daughter and two sons, I just feel like I would need to know that he didn't do it, or believe he didn't do it. Like, and I would need to see something that puts that into my mind. And if that evidence is there, then show it to us, because then the world would change its mind. If it isn't, then it's hard to change when you've seen things in black and white. But viewers, listen, we want your thoughts, we want your feelings on that. I want to say a big thank you to everybody that has tuned into the Football Terrace today. It means a great deal to us. Big weekend ahead that starts on a Friday with Chelsea Fulham. We'll be live after the game, reacting to that match. So make sure you're joining us. Kaz, Jess, Lewis, of course, KJ for organizing the show. Big up KJ and George as well, that had to shoot off early. And to all the viewers, we did nearly 1,700 likes, which is amazing. Over 30,000 views on the show already, which is out of this world. So thank you. And no, not Barrister Terry, just normal person Terry. Until next time, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And I'll see you all again very, very soon. Thank you. Bye.